Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Tech Group. You're invited to join our conversation to model the future of construction innovation and the digital transformation adventure of this great industry. My guest today is James Hatfield. He's the Chief Revenue Officer at LiveSwitch, a global technology company that serves the trades and other businesses. As an industry thought leader and expert in sales, leadership, and business innovation, he has extensive experience working with entrepreneurs, small businesses, and Fortune 500 enterprises. James is also an entrepreneur who founded a painting and power washing company. Welcome to the show, James.
Hey, thanks for having me, Todd. Excited to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to the conversations. Let's start with how you got into this industry to begin with.
Never intended to. I always thought for my entire time professionally, I'll be running painting and power washing companies. Where I come from, my grandfather, actually, his father passed young. He had to leave high school at the age of 16 and to go get a job to feed his family. How about that for growing
Oh,
up?
well,
Yeah. And then my father
yeah,
came from nothing, built his own house, blue collar guys. My grandfather wanted me to be a painter, and my father wanted me to be a plumber. And I chose painting. And so built a business from there, had multiple crews, did that for years. And the only reason I got into where we are now in technology is when I was going to the bookkeeper and they were telling me about my numbers, I knew they were speaking English, but I was like, I don't understand a word these guys are saying. I paint houses, man. Tell it to me like I'm 5. And so I was like, well, maybe I should probably go back to school while I'm running my business so I can understand the numbers. And, a couple decades ago when state school was affordable, that's what I did. Ran my business. I learned how to do the accounting in the evening, and that changed everything for me, including no more life on a ladder.
yeah. That's awesome. So I love that kind of story and the evolution there. What do you think is some of the biggest learning curves and lessons learned along the way?
Yeah, it's all about who you know, right? So while I was going through state school, I met a guy who had a landscaping company. Same problem I had. So he built out a system where a small business owner like myself could take my income statement and my balance sheet, put it through the system, and it would tell me in plain language how I'm doing, right? So it solved the need that I needed. I was like, wow, this stuff is pretty awesome. Like, maybe I could try to sell this for. And so we started with not like an incubator. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make a ton of cold calls. And this is the first time I ever had a computer professionally. I never needed one, like I just didn't need it. And so now I had a computer and I'm like, all right, I am going to make 300 cold calls a day to try to find someone to buy this thing.
You're a glutton for punishment there.
Oh, yeah. And I was calling New York City. So I was a double glutton for punishment. But, I mean, that's where you start. I mean, it's humble beginnings, but I needed to find someone who wanted to pay me American money for the system that was built. And so I just took my blue collar hustle and applied it to the white collar world. And I started calling these CPAs and accountants because I thought that's who would be the market for us. And sure enough, we ended up becoming an Inc. 500 company 3 years in a row. That means we're one of the fastest growing companies in America for 3 years. And now we sold to KKR, and it's a multi-billion-dollar company. So
That's
that
awesome.
that was a nice run.
Yeah, I'd say so. I say so. So you started that with saying something very insightful, and that the technology solved a need that you had, which sounds very commonsensical, very obvious. But there's so much technology out there that's solving like a technology need or perceived need, but not the actual need at the end of the day in the field. How do you identify those critical needs for the trades to be able to develop technology to come around and solve their actual needs?
Because I've lived life on a ladder, I think it gives me a unique perspective compared to the engineers who are doing the coding. Like, I can't code. I don't do that, but I know what it's like to do commercial, residential work, win that business, and then run the business because I own the business. And so I'm able to see through the lens of an owner and see through the lens of someone on a ladder and think about practical things that will work. And then also, I know my customers. I know what a commercial customer wants, a residential customer wants, and the customer experience that they are demanding. But I always fly in the fog a little bit in the beginning until you see clarity, right? So I'll tell you in my current company how we got back into the trades and back into construction and contractors because I didn't intend to. For this company, instead of starting from scratch, we're like, this time we're going to buy then build. There's a great book called Buy Then Build. I imagine many people listening have heard it. So we decided to buy a company that was already 14 years old this time because we actually had capital. Last time we didn't have a lot of capital. We just had to sweat equity, right? This time we have some capital and we knew we wanted to buy then build. So we found a company. We looked all over the world. We found this company and they specialize in live video, which very few companies in the world do, which is why we took a liking to it. And we also were like, hey, how can we come in and add value into something new, a technology we needed to learn? So I started off with the engineers. Again, they were speaking English to me, and I didn't know what they were saying, and they need to explain it to me like I'm 5. So I go down to the fundamentals, and then I get the opportunity, right? Our company currently works with the NBA. We did the Super Bowl this year. If you go to an MLB ballpark and scan a QR code and they put you on the Jumbotron, that's us. If you remember during COVID, during the NBA bubble and the wrestlers in WWE throwing each other into TVs, fans all over the world, we powered all that. So we do crazy live video things. And that was just our sports entertainment. But I got the chance to work with the chief of police in Washington, D.C. to reinvent our nation's 911 call. And the challenge is when someone is in a compromised situation, they don't have time to stop and download an app. And I need to get into your cameras so I can stream your live video to the police car. So we came up with an idea. I woke up at 3 in the morning, came with an idea. I was like, I got it. I'm going to go in through SMS texting where that citizen can tap the text. There's a safety feature that they have to hit the allow the camera. There's your safety feature. And then boom, I'm instantly connected and I can stream that live video anywhere in the world, including the cop car for situational awareness. So we started
Yeah.
there. So the question is, how do you go from reinventing a 911 call to the trades and back home to me being on a ladder, right? Because I just thought, well, who else could use this click to connect technology? And it reminded me over 20 years ago, I had a CB radio in the truck, if you know what that is, or a Nextel walkie-talkie came later when the Nextel came out, where we could just, I could talk to anyone in my company at any time. This reminded me in some ways of the Nextel walkie-talkie, but instead of with my ears, my eyes. And the way that that came about is I was talking to a guy that takes care of the Tennessee Titans, the NFL team. He's 20 years in the FBI. And this guy, I'm showing him my emergency response stuff. He's like, James, he's like, this all looks well and good, but I got the stupidest question. I'm like, what is that? He's like, can I just text my guy across the arena when the trash cans fall over so I don't have to hop in my little golf cart? Because that would actually help me a ton. And that was a solidification of like, this is the Nextel walkie-talkie. I got to find more homes for it. Right. So
Yeah.
remember I made 300 cold calls a day to New York for the financial thing. Well, now I start making calls again. Okay. And I started with talking to one of my friends who's in the Hall of Fame of self-storage. I didn't even know there was a Hall of Fame of self-storage. He's like, why don't you come and use this to disrupt self-storage? We're all trying to manage all these facilities with less people. Why don't you? I was like, I don't know anything about self-storage. He's like, don't worry, come with me to Vegas. I'll introduce you to all the smarty pants people and they can tell you what the needs are. And you're the nerd with the glasses who makes tech, so you figure it out. And so while I was doing that, in my ignorance, there's companies that are moving and storage company. So I saw storage. So I started making, guess what? 120 cold calls a day because I'm like, I gotta find a person who will give me time because I have no brand, no one knows me in home services, and I want to see if I can get a storage company. Well, I get a guy on. He's like, James, we're not like self storage. We're moving, like moving boxes and warehousing. I was like, oh. He's like, but you're sitting on a pile of gold. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you should know this, having been a home service owner. The most expensive thing that we do in our moving business is I put one of my hourly wage guys in a truck, using my gas, wear and tear on the vehicle, out and back, just in the hopes of closing a deal. What I'm going to use this stuff for is my initial contact with the person, the potential customer, because I can see what's going on. Because he's like, a ton of times I'll send people out, we'll quote them like 6 figures for a move, and they'll be like, it costs that much? I'm just going to get 3 pizzas and all my buddies. Like, he's like, I could have seen that virtually instead of sending my guy out. And I can document everything operationally. I can do all this. And he was totally right. That was 2 years ago. And now I've got thousands and thousands of users. We're under the hood of Service Titan, Jobber. But connecting the dots and listening to find the disruption is kind of a pattern here from company to company.
Yeah, for sure. So, traditionally the construction industry is gets the reputation at least of being slower to adopt technology. What do you think is finally pushing the industry to embrace disruption and really, accelerate the technology curve?
I think people don't give enough credit to the construction industry. They're not a bunch of knuckle draggers. The thing is, they don't want to learn another complicated software platform. Nobody wants to do that. And not just the construction, nobody. There's nobody on this planet that's excited about learning a complicated software. So I went the other direction. I was like, I'm reminded of the Nextel walkie-talkie. You know why I like that? It's one button. You know why I like teaching someone how to use a phone? It's one button. Now a car, truck to start it, one button. I was like, if this isn't as easy as one button, these guys won't use it. And it's not because they're backwards. It's because they don't want to put up with your nonsense. I always make fun of my engineers. I'm like, you guys all have soft hands. You don't know what it's like to be on a ladder all day. You don't know what it's like to come home and have to take a shower after work because you've been sweating all day in the sun, right? So, what would make you think an engineer coding could help a guy on a construction site? It's the most odd couple you've ever seen. So, you have to have a translator, aka my partner running landscaping companies and me running power washing and painting companies. We can translate that to thoughtfully built technology that is easy to use. You do not need training. Like, if you can put in a phone number, you can use my stuff. That's it. Like, we were activating one of our moving customers, and we were testing out to see how easy it was to use, and there was a cleaning lady cleaning out the building because they have a corporate building, and we're like, "Let's see if she can figure it out without us telling." So she came in, she didn't even speak English, and she figured it out. See, that is the kind of challenge that we have to do to onboard a brand new technology in the industry. And this is how this is disrupting construction and contracting and how we do it today because of easy and simple design. And that's where you start. Not where you finish, is where you start. Or else you can build the coolest thing on the planet, but if no one uses it or knows how to use it, it's a waste if you're going for
Right.
volume.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think you nailed it there on the easy factor is enormous, and then pairing it back to what we were talking about earlier of solving a need that they actually have. So you have to have both of those to really have a true technology that is disruptive to the workforce.
That's right. As an example, let's say I'm a project manager in construction and I got a superintendent on site and we're excavating today. We're starting to excavate and crap, we hit a pipe. I'm sure everyone listening, something similar has happened like this. And the first thing the superintendent and the project manager and the super's like, hit a pipe. There goes my budget and there goes my timeline. I need to let the customer know. So we verbally tell the customer. Well, now what can happen? The superintendent, I bet, has a smartphone in their pocket. The project manager can text and say, show me the issue. So now the project manager does not have to hop in an airplane or in a truck. Superintendent pulls out the phone. It's all built for third-party management. This is not a FaceTime call. It's a reverse of a FaceTime call. It's built for third-party assistance. So that project manager can see what the superintendent sees, record everything, take pictures. No having the superintendent scroll through a bunch of photos of their family to upload. No one likes doing that. He just literally taps a text, holds it out, just like the 911 call. The PM is the officer in this case. And now that recorded video and photos can be shared with the customer saying, hey, here's what happened today. This is why the budget's going to change and our timeline's going to change. And it's all documented. And I'm also going to need to send this to insurance.
Yeah. Very cool. Let's take it up a couple levels of what is required on the business front to be able to really embrace disruption, embrace technology to make it successful in a company.
Well, for our end, there's no new apps to download. We don't do that. There's no specific hardware. You don't need a PC, Mac, iPhone, Android. We'll use whatever you got already because you already have everything you need. Everything we do lives in the cloud. And I sat down with ServPro. They have a bunch of project managers that handle corporate accounts. We taught them how to use it in 10 minutes and they use it in the same day. It's literally, you go to a website, you log in, you put in the phone number. name of the person, and you never have to do it again. And now your project manager is talking to the superintendent anytime they need to talk. Or if they don't want to do it live, they can just send a text, and if super text the project manager, hit a pipe. Project manager sends back a text that says, "Hey, take a video of it for me. I'm in the middle of a meeting." Superintendent hits a button, takes a video, no one on the other end. If they forget, it reminds them, "Oh, takes a video." The person gets a ping, the project manager gets a ping, watches the video. That's it. I mean, there's no app. It can work on their phone, on their computer, on their tablet, like anywhere they are, wherever they are. That's the beauty of this as well. That when people think this is some change, we got to go through change management and do all the rigmarole. Not this time. You can save that for your CRM system. Save that for, I won't name a bunch of, and you can connect the dots. Give your time to those people, not to me, because what disruption for us is about this, right? And everyone had the tool in their pocket their entire time. They're carrying around the chief of police. So funny. When I'm done presenting, he looks over his glasses and he goes, "James," he's like, "this seems so obvious to me now. Why didn't we ever have this?" I was like, "Chief, the reason we did not have this is because not everyone in the nation had a smartphone with a camera in their pocket. And now I think they issue these to you when you're born, right? Everyone gets a smartphone. So that's one. And two, we're only one of 4 companies in the world doing live video, and the other ones could care less about emergency response or construction or. So that is the beauty of the story, I think, and how this came and, and starting to disrupt. Because I'm hoping what people start to think about right now is that your wheels are spinning. How can you use that camera in your pocket to save a trip on the plane, communicate with your team, help the junior tech talk to the senior tech, if there's a safety issue? Like, you're going to start buzzing and your wheels will start spinning now that you do this, because it's like taking away the NFL instant replay, right? Like, but we'd go up in arms. But now I'm offering the NFL instant replay, and once you have it and you can see everything going on in your business, you can elevate everybody. And of course, there's issues like people are like, "Well, I got to be on camera now. I got to use video now." There's a little bit of that.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of like, "Oh man, that's like the boss man now is going to see everything I'm
Yeah.
doing." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
How do you address kind of that big brother privacy concern? I'm sure that comes up.
yep." So there's 2 pieces to Big Brother and privacy. First is privacy. So as we deal with governments around the world, all of our stuff, the nerdy talk, is SOC 2 certified, fully encrypted. It's safer than a phone call. All right, nothing lives on your device, and it's all encrypted. And SOC 2 isn't very hard to get. The next piece, the Big Brother only sucks when it doesn't go in your favor. But when the Big Brother goes in your favor, you're like, thank. It's the instant replay. One team is rewarded, the other team is pissed, right? But
It's
guess
true.
what?
It's true.
Guess what happens? Sometimes it goes the other way and the other way. So if I'm a superintendent and I just documented something and covered my butt, because if I got up on a witness stand and started talking, it's a whole lot different than if you see a picture, and it's definitely a whole lot different if you watch a video. So it's actually protecting your team. Sometimes even from your customer. Well, they said they were also going to add in 3 more elevators. It's already in the bid. That's what they said. Well, let me check my NFL instant replay when we bid this. Happy to put the elevators in, but we're going to have to do a change order on the budget. Right? So it really does protect everyone, and it gives you best in class. Right? Because you're going to have a whole repository of, like, I can't remember what I had for breakfast. Someone comes back, and when you rebury stuff and re-put a wall up, you kind of forget, like, where did we put that? Well, let me check my instant replay. So Big Brother
Yeah. So,
sometimes goes in your favor.
yeah, for sure. So a question that kind of pings in my mind with collecting all these data and stories and videos and all the, how is there like an AI component then that can comb through to be like, I'm looking for something really specific, but I don't remember where it was. How do you find that?
So today it's all done through meta tagging and titling and dates. You can see an entire timeline of all the dates and scroll through. AI is going to come next. Okay, we're already working on all of that, because in a live video you have multiple pieces of data streaming. One, the audio. As I'm talking right now, I can submit this entire podcast that we're doing to a large language model like ChatGPT, OpenAI, you name the one, your flavor. and it can do all kinds of things. One, practical. We look for practical things, not just toys. I was like, cool, but like, how does it really help me? So if a part of your team is English as a second language or vice versa, or the majority of the team speaks Spanish and the minority speaks English, now we can translate that. Almost like one of those like Japanese ninja movies, right? So that's a practical application. It can also summarize what we agreed to. It can also start analyzing photos and videos and things of that nature. This is all coming. Step one in phase one is just getting people to use the camera in their pocket. Because I can't do any of that AI without starting to go from taking your phone from your ear, off your ear, and pointing your camera and using your screen and your video cameras. So that's you got to go in phases to really have a real adoption curve of technology in an industry that historically people, oh, they're so backwards. I'm like, no, they're not. They're not backwards at all. I bet in every pocket of every team member in your construction company, they have a smartphone. And about 10 years ago, they didn't. They had their Nextels. And they're like, I don't need that Steve Jobs iPhone thing. Sound familiar? History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So from your perspective, where are construction kind of pros seeing the biggest wins when it comes to either simplifying or digitizing their kind of workflows and field documentation?
You know what team members don't like to do? Type on a keyboard. Ask them. Unless they're like authors. They like building stuff. They don't like typing stuff. So you don't have to type anymore. Just talk to the camera. Do your site walk with video, right? Do your daily. Do your punch list. Your PMs are now getting eyes on everything. You're getting eyes on everything, and your customer is now having a project file. When I build something in real estate, you know what I like to do? I like to see the progress because I'm paying a lot of money and I got a big loan on that thing. So now, as anybody in the company, we have QR codes you can put on site. They can scan it. They can start taking their dailies. It'll upload right to the project. The customer, project manager can see now in real time the progress of their build. The lenders can see that. Insurance can see that. Now you're having video documentation. As much as we like to read things and write things, I don't have time to sit down and do my journal entry into my quote unquote fill in the blank software platform. That's the experience of the employees and also the value of what you're getting out of it is just a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth 10,000. Like it's just orders of magnitude more helpful.
Yeah, for sure. So looking ahead, what are some kind of emerging trends or technologies that you believe are going to help really kind of further reshape the way the trades and construction teams are operating?
Yeah, I think it's going to be bits and pieces, right? I've been sitting here, rattling off a lot about live and recorded video, which I think is quite important, obviously. But there's other pieces of the puzzle to make sure that you're, from a technology standpoint, marketing, right? A lot of folks, and I don't have a dog in the fight here because I don't get paid by any of these companies, like a go high level, right? The trades are loving things like that to help with the marketing. The follow up, getting those 5-star reviews on your Google, because that matters, right? Programs like Nice Job are being used a lot for automate. You have to touch someone 7 times to get a review. People don't always think about that. How did they get 1,000 5-stars? They follow up 7 times. How many are you doing? Well, why don't we automate that with technology? That'd be great. Unless you want to pay somebody. Third, you're going to start looking globally for staff. I think people, they think very local, and sometimes it's hard to hire people, find good quality folks, especially for the administrative tasks, the bookkeeping tasks, even some of the project management tasks. I have some of my most forward-thinking trades folks that have a good chunk of their staff not onshore, offshore, and you can do that. And your bottom and top line, especially your bottom line for your dollars and cents, are really going to thank you for that. And there's technology now that enables that through other platforms. Fill in the blank. There's so many different CRMs and platforms. If you're in construction, you know them all. The Blue Beams and the Procores. If you're in the trades, you've got your Service Titan and Jobber. As an example, like our stuff sits under the hood of Service Titan and Jobber. We understand that these systems need to talk to each other, and everybody's looking for the one platform to rule them all. That is not happening. That won't happen. It's just too hard for a company to do that. You're asking, like on the live video side, I have to have computer scientists and a lot of them because this is so hard, which is why a company like a Jobber can't, or a Service Titan can't figure this out. They have to come. We're peanut butter and jelly, right? We go, and it's just not something that they can handle all of that. If the market demanding that, it's like asking for something that can't be given. So you need to find the right pieces of your puzzle and put your technology stack together in the right way. And I know that's really challenging, but that's what you're up against.
Yeah. That makes sense. So as we start to kind of land the plane here, some rapid fire questions for you. What is the phrase modeling the future? What does that kind of mean and look like to you?
It means like Marty McFly and Back to the Future. You got to kind of live in the future and then come to the present and bring people towards the future. So you need visionaries in your company, right? We've got visionaries and we got plane landers. So I have to be a visionary, but I also need my computer scientists to be plane landers. And whatever business you're in, do you have visionaries? Do you have plane landers? And if you don't have those, you're going to have to get a mix and get someone that can help you come into the future so you can continue to compete.
I like that distinction there for sure. We talk a lot about innovation on Bridging the Gap. What does innovation mean to you?
It means making lives easier, means being practical. Like it's very cool, some of this technology, but how does it affect me, my team, my customers? So I want to take what's innovation and bring it to reality and make it practical and tactical and something I can't live without. Try to take one of your guys' smart. You can't even do it for your kids anymore. But it serves. Sometimes we can overuse this stuff, but when it's really used well and bringing that innovation in, and then making sure talking to thought leaders, making sure you stay ahead of the curve without exhausting your team with too much change management. But to bury your head in the sand is also not a recommended approach.
Yeah, agreed. How do people find out more information and connect with you?
Easy, 2 ways. One on LinkedIn, look up James Hatfield. I'm easy to get. Anyone listening to this podcast, I'll personally respond to you. You're already taking the time to educate yourself. And second, you can go to liveswitch.com, LiveSwitch.com, hit demo and ask for James. That way I don't put my sales team on you. Anyone that can talk right to me, and we don't even have to talk about, what I'm doing. We can just talk about business, I've done it before. I've lived on a ladder. I've seen that change management. I do tons of trainings and different things at no cost. I'm not asking for your wallet. I'm just saying, if you want help, come and get me.
Love that. Well, final question for you, James. If I could give you all construction power, you could snap your fingers and innovate one thing in the industry, what would you pick to innovate?
I'm so biased. Like, it's my stuff. I hate to say it like that, but like, I want everyone to start using live and recorded video give yourself the NFL instant replay. Get eyes on your business. You always had ears on your business. Now get eyes on your business and you can elevate everything, the customer experience, the employee experience, the project manager experience, and it's good for your bottom line. And it's good for the environment. Less trips on the plane and trips in the truck. Less leaving the dinner table where your most important asset is.
I love it. James, thanks so much for taking the time and joining the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
And now it's time for my Todd takes from this episode. First take, solve the problem that actually exists, not the one you assume. Innovation in construction must start by addressing real, boots on the ground challenges, not hypothetical or abstract problems. The most effective tools are born from firsthand experience and direct input from the field. If the tech doesn't make a worker's life easier today, it won't be adopted tomorrow. Second take, practical empathy drives better innovation. Seeing through the eyes of the people who actually use the technology, whether it's a superintendent, technician, or small business owner, ensure that tools are intuitive, fast, and don't require lengthy training. Empathy isn't just a buzzword, it's a design strategy. And finally, you need both visionaries and plane landers. Visionaries dream of the future. Plane landers bring those dreams safely to the ground. For innovation to succeed in construction, businesses need both. Those who can see around corners and those who can translate that vision into practical tools that teams can use today without disruption fatigue.